All right. Next, we are going to go over our assignment for this week. So let's take a quick look at our assignment. Actually, let me just hide Zoom real quick. There we go. So this, again, it's menu design part 1. You can read over the background about why InDesign is the industry standard. I want to go over the prompt with you, and I really want to get into InDesign, and let's start creating a cover menu for this week. So when we are setting up our file in InDesign, we're going to go off of all of this information right here. And I'm going to show you how to change your preference to inches before you create your new document. So let's go into InDesign. It's the one with the pink icon. And first thing first, go up into where it says InDesign and go to Preferences and go to Units and Increments. Right here where it says Ruler Units, I've already changed mine, but it probably is at a default of points or picas. Change it to inches at horizontal and inches at vertical. You can leave the stroke at points and then click OK. And now going forward, every time that you make a new document, your ruler is going to be set up in inches. Way easier than trying to figure out how many picas you're at, right? So first things first, you can create a new document a couple of different ways. You can do Create New. You can do File, New. Wow. Come on, InDesign. File, New, Document. Or you can do Command N. So see, got my quick key down there for you. And then we're going to go to Print because we want to make sure everything is set up CMYK and we're doing things in print in this class. So it needs to be 8.5 by 11 with 2 pages. So that means whenever anything is said this way, the first number is always your width, the second number is always your height. You don't get to determine whether or not it's portrait or landscape. The specifications of the assignment are set up for you. I need it to be 2 pages, and I need to uncheck facing pages. I don't want them to be facing pages. My margin needs to be set up at 0.375, so I'm going to copy that number. I'm going to scroll down, and right here, where this is linked, so when I put in my first margin and tab over, it's going to put the 0.375 in all 4 of the boxes. And then this has a bleed. So what that means is that when it goes to the printer, it's actually set up a bit bigger than the size we want it to be. So it's set up for a bleed for one reason only. So that way the background will extend off of the page, and when it is cut, when it goes to the cutter, it has a bleed. And I'm going to turn on my camera for a second so I can give you a visual of this, of a printed piece. Okay, so this is my business card, and you'll notice that my graphics extend all the way on all 4 sides. And the reason for that is because I set this up to go to the printer with a bleed, meaning that I added 0.125 to all 4 sides. So the image was like this much bigger, and it had crop marks from my printer. And the crop marks, showed my printer where the business card needed to be cut. Because you know when you print something up on your home computer and it gives you like that little white border around the 4 edges, and you, no matter what you do, you can't get it to print to the edge. So there's always that kind of white border, and it looks unprofessional on a printed piece. So that's why you want to set things up for a bleed, so it extends off of the 4 sides, and after it comes off the printer, it's actually sent to a cutter, and the cutter lines up with the crop marks, and it does just that. It's like shh, 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 and it cuts off that excess and the white edges. So that way it looks nice and professional when it comes back as a printed piece. So that's how we're gonna set up our document today. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm trying to wrap my brain around this, but it's easier when you can see the visual of it. It's even better if you can go to a print facility and watch them do it. I worked for a printer for a while, and even I didn't get it until I saw things come off of, you know, the printer and go over to the cutter machine, and the cutter was like, and then it came out and I went, oh, that's why we set it up that way. Yes. All right. So we're going to set up our bleed as 0.125. which is right down here where it says bleed and slug. And again, if you put in the 0.125 and tab over, it adds it in all four as long as it's linked. Leave slug as it is. You don't have to put anything in there. And then hit create. And here we go. So like I said, I like to set up my InDesign to be an Essentials Classic right here. Yours might have defaulted to Essentials and you won't have all of the options on your page. See how I had a whole lot more options? That is Essentials Classic mode. And some of them I've kind of popped them out because I'm just using them differently, like the align and the stroke and everything else. I have a couple of tabs all over the page. Anything that you want to open is going to be in your window. So that's where you're going to get to your CC libraries if you want to open them. Your color, that can be your gradient or your swatches. Your control panel, which is this. I don't even use editorial for anything. I don't use effects. Your info panel, if you wanted it open. Your layers, your objects and layout. That's where you find your alignment tools. What else? Pages and your tools panel. That's about it for what I usually keep open. So just like in Photoshop and Illustrator, you have your tool panel over here on the side. Whoops, I accidentally took it out of where it goes. Nope, nope. Ugh, there we go. All right. And then I like to close mine up to be, there we go. One long panel. It's really up to you how you want things set up. Again, you kind of find what it is that works for you. All right, so here's our 8.5 by 11 that we've set up. And I want to point out a couple of different things to you on the page. So you will notice this gray area back here. This is kind of like the table, right, that I was talking about. And then your bleed, I guess, might be if you go to a fancy dinner party and you have a placemat, a larger placemat, and then a smaller placemat on top of it. That's kind of the best way I can think of this. So anything that you want to bleed needs to extend to these red lines on all four sides past the white margin. If you want your whole page to show on the page, Command 0. If you want to zoom in, I'm actually going to change my keycaster right now, and I'm going to turn on some of the other keys so you can see what I'm clicking. Hold on. There we go. I'll leave that open because that might get annoying after a while. So I want to zoom in to right here. I'm going to press Z and zoom in, and then to get to my hand tool, I'm hitting the space bar right now. I'm still on my zoom tool. I'm just holding down the space bar to be able to drag things around the screen. To get to my selection tool, if you hover over any of the tools, it tells you what the quick tool is. So V is for that. So I'm going to extend my background, again, to all four of these red lines. And I'm just going to color it in red right now, just to show you. And I'm kind of just opening up some of my panels that I use all the time. I always have my swatches panel open. I always have my character panel open. And I like to leave the align and stroke kind of over here open. Next, we have that second placemat, right? This is our page. So again, my rectangle tool, because I'm not filling this with anything, I'm going to draw a rectangle. And I'm going to color that in yellow. So that's my 8.5 by 11 page. That's what's it's going to be cut to. Next, I have the information that no matter what, I don't want it to be cut off. That could be my logo and my type that I'm putting on the page. Anything that's that important information, I want to keep that inside of my margin. And my margin, what's on this page, is 0.375. So I want to keep it within that area, which is this pinkish, purplish box right there. So I'm going to draw another rectangle. And this one I'm going to make white. So again, I've got my fancy kind of tablecloth, I've got my placemat, and I've got my plate that has all of my information, the important information that I want to make sure doesn't fall off the sides. So again, you want to think of everything in InDesign needing to kind of go into a container. You know, you got your plate, you got your placemat, you've got the table itself. You need to put things into something. You don't just dump the spaghetti down on the table. You want to put it in the plate first. Everything needs to go into a container in InDesign. All right, I'm just going to delete everything. All right, so we've got everything set up the way we need it to. You are going to go in and choose a restaurant and download their assets. So there's a link, a hyperlink to each of them to download. And when you open it up, you will see that in Maxwell's, you have your images, the examples, the logo, which is the AI file, and then the text. So the text for the cover and the text for the menu. The text for the cover says logo. You don't have to put that on. You just have to put the logo on. It's just a reminder for you, like, oh yeah, you need to put the logo on. And then the same thing for the other ones. Do not retype anything. Copy and paste it from the doc file. But like I said, I am going to be doing my own assignment, which is going to be a restaurant or a cover for Amelia Island, which is down in Florida, and I actually had to design something for them once, so it was just easy enough to, you know, grab the logo, throw it in a folder, and go about my my day. So I'm going to design something for them. I have downloaded one photo, and I'm going to download another photo. So let's go in. I'm going to go to, I guess I'll go to Unsplash, and I'm going to look for maybe I'm just going to put in fancy restaurant. Let's see what we have here. Oh, that's nice. Right? The fancy table. Oh, that's actually pretty. Like the actual restaurant itself with the tables all set up. Ooh. It's like fancy in a rustic way. I'm going to pick this one because it's fancy in a rustic way. So I'm going to click download free. And it's probably going to put it in my downloads folder, but I like to move everything in to my actual folder that I'm working in. And because we are working in print, I need things to be CMYK. So I'm going to open up that one. I can't remember if I already fixed this one to be CMYK, but yes, it is. Color space is CMYK. This one I am sure is RGB. So I'm going to open it up in Photoshop so I can change it to CMYK for print. Perfect. And I'm just going to go up to image mode, change it from RGB to CMYK. And then I also want it to be 300 DPI for print. So you're going to need to do this with your images as well. So I'm going to go to image, image size, and change it from 72 to 300 DPI. And you'll notice it brings it down to 8.75 by 13.12. Well, I know that my document is a little bit larger than 8.5 by 11. So this image is going to work perfectly for a background image. So I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to do a file, save as. And make sure it goes in the same place. And save it. And I'm just going to replace the one that's in there. And close it out. And I already had checked the other one, so I know it's good. And I'll go back into InDesign. So because I want that image to be my, my background image, I'm going to work in layers because I want to think about how, you know, it might be a little bit easier for me to drag some layers around instead of, you know, moving things all within the same layer. So layer one, I'm going to just double click and I'm going to rename this background. And I'm going to make another layer and call it logo. And then I'm going to make another layer and call it text. Then go to my background, because again, I'm thinking of how I'm literally going to layer things one on top of the other. So first things first, I want to draw my frame that I'm going to put my picture in for my background. So again, because I have to put things in a container, I can't just throw the spaghetti on the table. So I'm going to start way out here on my, at the corner of my red bleed line and go all the way down into the bleed edge down here as well. And then I'm going to place my image into it. So I'm going to go to File, Place, and I need to find where it is. This is why it makes sense to put things in a logical place. Mine's Mod 6, DES 105, Week 1, Assignment. And just click open. And now let's say that your image was like ginormous and you only saw like a corner of it, but you want the whole thing. You can go up to Object, Fitting, and you can either fill the frame proportionally or fit the content proportionally. If you fill the frame proportionally, it's going to make sure that your image goes either to or past all four edges. So let's see that. Fill the frame proportionally. And mine stayed the same because it automatically did that when I placed it in. Or if I went to Object, Fitting, Fit the content proportionally, you'll notice I'm probably going to get some white edges. See? White edges. So now the whole image is showing inside of the frame, but it's kind of, I really want it to go from edge to edge. And I need to make sure that it's placed proportionally. So again, Object, Fitting, fill the frame proportionally. But what if I really want to zoom in on this cake? This is where that white arrow, that direct selection tool is going to come in. Because again, the black arrow, I move things around on the table. The white arrow is my fork, my spoon, things that I'm going to use to move around things inside of my container. So see how it gives me this hand when I click? I can drag, I'm not dragging the container. I'm just dragging what's inside of the container right now. But I can also scale what's inside the container. And you'll notice I had to hit Command minus to zoom out. See how I can see the edges of the picture? This is the size of the picture right now. I can move it up. I can move it down, and you can kind of see that red line. That's the bounding box of the image itself, the original image. And it's being cropped to the frame of the rectangle. But I'm at 100% right now. I can realistically get up to about 120% before I have to worry about my image becoming low res. So if I click in here with the white arrow and I hit Shift Command and then I start to click, it's going to allow me to proportionally, I was hoping that would show that on the screen. It's not a command key, but it's allowing me to proportionally scale my image. So maybe I can zoom in a little bit on that piece of cake right there. There we go. Now, my restaurant, let's say, serves kind of breakfast and lunch. So maybe I want, two different images here, kind of overlaid on top of each other. This is where that gradient feather tool that I was telling you about and how it's a little bit easier to show instead of explain, that's where this is going to come in. So I'm going to draw another rectangle still on my background layer because this is still going to be part of my background. And again, from border to border, from that red border to red border, and maybe down to about the 6-inch line. There we go. And I'm going to place in my second photo. So File, Place, and this is my second photo. And again, I'm going to do an object fitting. I want to fill frame proportionally. And I've got those wine glasses in, but it looks a little bit weird that I just got like these two photos like this. So I'm going to select this photo with my black arrow tool, and I'm going to go down to the gradient feather tool, and I'm going to hold down Shift and start to, whoops, Ramsey. I'm going to start to click from right here inside of the image and then out a little bit past the frame. And see how it starts to gradiate my picture? So the first picture, the second picture starts to show through. But what if I want this wine glass to be coming in from this side, so I want to reflect it? I can do that. I'm going to click on the photo, and I'm going to right-click or control-click. And I want to go to Transform, Flip Horizontal. And it's going to kind of flip it horizontally this way, so I'm going to have to drag it back in. But now, what I can do is with my gradient fill tool, I can kind of, I always click and drag the wrong way. Like kind of get the wine glasses to show. That. See, I don't like the harsh bottom though. I'll try to see if I can. Oh, wrong way. I'm coming from the side. And then I'm gonna show you a trick. I'm going to select this photo. I'm just gonna close it up a little bit. And I'm gonna right click, and I am going to go to, I always forget where it puts it. Edit original, edit with. Oh, I hope they didn't get rid of it. Where are you? Don't make me look dumb. Object. Corner options. There we go. Like, hold on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to round off these corners. I want to round off this bottom corner. And the reason why, I'm going to unlink these. The reason why is because I'm just going to have it a little bit rounder. I need to close this up just to the bottom of the photo. And the reason why is I want it to look like it's kind of rounding out of the picture, like almost like a circle. So object, effects, corner, or I can even convert the shape, which might be a little bit easier. I can convert it to a rounded rectangle or an ellipses, which is a circle. The circle might be the way to go. But what I want is I want the top to remain squared off. I know this seems weird, but like some people like to get like really crazy, so I kind of want to show you. So what I do is I drag the circle off the screen, see the edges of the circle off the screen, and now it'd be better if I previewed this for you. If you go down here where it says normal, you can change it to preview mode and see what it's going to look like when you print it. So you can kind of get an idea. And if it's not really working for you, which I'm not 100% sure if this is really working for me, sometimes it's just too much. The one image would be fine. But I want to kind of show you that the whole point of this exercise was to show you how that gradient fill tool works. So to get back to my regular view, I can either click on the preview panel again or hit W. All right, so I've added in my background. Next, what I want to do is I want to add in my logo. So I'm just going to lock my background layer so I don't accidentally place things on it or mess it up. And then I'm going to go to my logo layer. And I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to place my logo. But what if I don't know what size I want my logo placed at? You know, what size to draw my rectangle box? That makes sense. So there is another way that you can place something. You can just go up to File, Place, and select the image, like my logo, and click Open. And see how it gives you the image? It shows you a little preview for it with an arrow. You can just click, and it'll place it. It's going to place it at the default of the size that it is, though. And this is a big logo. So I'm going to need to close this up and get it to fit on my page. So I'm going to close up, whoops, not rotate, close up the edges right to my margins. I don't want this to run. This is important information. So I don't want this to run outside of my margins. And then I'm going to go up to Object, Fitting, and I want to fill the frame or fit content proportionally, because I want to fit within the frame that I want all of the content to fit inside of this rectangle. I don't want it to scale out like I did with my image. I'm going to move it up here. And then this, the sliver of the knife is a little bit distracting. So I'm going to go back into my background with my white arrow tool again, click in the image, and I'm just going to move it down. But I need to be aware of where the image ends up here, because I need to keep it outside of the bleed. So I'm going to see if I can get that perfect. right, like that. And then I'll lock that layer back up. And then I also need to put some information on the page. So you guys have, for information, let me see what you guys have. You have a tagline, an address, a phone number, and some hours. I'm just going to use the information, the text from Maxwell's. So one of the things that I want to go over with you is proximity. Proximity is putting things that belong together, putting them together, because it makes sense logically when you're looking at the page, you know, to read that information. It would probably be confusing if I didn't put fine steaks and seafood next to the logo, because it's the tagline for the restaurant. It probably would be confusing if I didn't have the town and state near the address, or the phone number near the address, or the hours near each other. What if I did something like this? If I just copied this information and just willy-nilly put it all over the screen. I'm just going to draw, again, I'm going to draw a text box here on my text logo, on my text layer, and put this information in, okay? Now, let me just close that up a little and get it out of the way. What if I took fine foods and steaks, and I'm just going to do a Command X to get it out of this text box, and then I'm going to draw another text box here, and I put it down here. What if I took part of the address and I put it right here? But then I took the rest of the address and I put it down here under fine food and steaks. Now, what if I took the phone number and draw a text box, put the phone number in, and then for no reason whatsoever, I put it at a 90-degree angle and put it over here? And then what if I took this part of the hours and I put them right here, and then I took the rest of the hours and I put them up here underneath the logo. Now, when you look at this, and then I didn't change any of the fonts or any of the colors. I just placed the text with zero design. How long would it take you as a viewer to find the information on this page? You would be like, you know what? I wanted to go eat there because that cake looks good, but I literally cannot even find where they're located. You don't want to play Where's Waldo with the information, and you don't want your viewers to play with Where's Waldo with the information. You want them to be able to look at it and say, oh, that makes sense. It's located here. This is all the information. And also, be careful of, you know, random things running to the next line, like 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. You know, you want your information to be easy to read for your viewer. And the easiest way to do that is to use proximity. And the easiest way to use proximity is to draw multiple text boxes in InDesign and put the information that belongs together in a text box. One text box. So, I have 3 text boxes at this point on the screen. I have my tagline. I have my hours. Oops, I'm already missing an hour. Here we go. Closed Sunday was missing. I have my hours of operation, and I have my location and phone number. I don't need more than 3 text boxes for this menu cover. And I don't need more than 3 areas that my eyes should look on the page. 3 might be even more than I want. So first things first, I need to think about hierarchy. And I'm actually going to share a quick video with you on hierarchy. I created it in a different class, but it really gets into hierarchy and what it is, how you can, change typefaces and font sizes and things of that manner and colors to make the viewer's eye go where you want it to go on the page. So I'll share that video with you in the announcements. I think it'll really help you out to make you understand, these different design principles and then how to set up a page to have visual hierarchy. All right, so first things first, I need to be aware of my fonts on the page. I already have a serif font, which is a font that has the little feet right here, and I have a sans serif font, which is a font that has no little feet. And I don't want my fonts to really clash with each other, so I don't want something that's going to be kind of sort of like this font, but obviously a different font, especially right next to it. So I'm going to make fine foods and fine steak and seafood. I am going to find a nice font that looks like the Amelia Island font, which I think is based off of Baskerville, this logo. So I'm going to select this text and I'm going to go up here where I have Mini and Pro, which is the default font. So you're not really going to want to use that. And I'm going to use the italic version of Baskerville. So that way, even though it's not the same, it's kind of going to have the same exact feel. And I'm gonna put fine foods and seafoods near my logo because it's a tagline that goes along with this. And I need it to be bigger than 12 point type. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. In the character panel, you can hit up and click through. You can do the same thing up here. But the quick key to this, which might make your life a little bit easier, is to hit Command-Shift period to make it larger, and Command-Shift comma or the left bracket, showing the bracket on the screen to make it smaller. So right bracket makes it larger, the font size. Left bracket makes it smaller. And I really want this to stand out. So maybe what I need to do is maybe I need to run kind of like a bar behind this. And I want it to go from edge to edge out to the bleed. But I'm going to put it on the background layer. And I want the bar to kind of be this gold color, or actually, I'm thinking of my repetition of color here. I've got the gold in this leaf. It's kind of the same gold in the coffee, and then it goes down to the gold here and here. So it's already making my eye kind of go through the page. So I'm going to color sample that. So the mocha, I think. So I'm going to go down, and again, it's going to default to being the color theme tool. Go to the actual eyedropper tool, and I'm going to click right here and see here is that color right there, but I want to add it to my swatches. So I'm going to either right click or control click and add to swatches, and there, it's going to put it right in there for me, right in my swatches panel. And then I can go to my rectangle tool, not my frame, because I'm only drawing a rectangle. Make sure I'm on the right layer. I want to be on my background layer. And I am going to draw, whoops, get rid of that, a rectangle. And because I had that color selected, it automatically added that color in, which is fine. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to move fine food and seafood down. And then, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to select this, and I'm going to go to my gradient feather tool, and I'm going to start right here. I'm going to hold down shift, and I'm going to feather that out, I think. Boom. Perfect. fine steaks and seafood. I keep saying fine food and seafood, but you know what I mean. And then, great, that looks great. Go back to my other layer. I'm gonna lock that background layer again. And the reason why I don't colorize the text box itself is for a couple of reasons. I wanted to extend past. Look at what happens. I'm going to show you this. Look at what happens if you just select the text box and make the background that color. See how the text goes right to the edge and right to the top, and it doesn't give you a border. It's just like, oh, right to the edge. It looks so much nicer if you draw a rectangle and you kind of give your elements a little bit of breathing room. So let's colorize this. Go and send it to the back. So arrange, object, arrange, send to the back. And then place it this way. And I'm going to go to preview mode so you don't see, oh, whoops. I forget anything that's off to the side doesn't show up in preview mode. Hold on. Let me grab them. Bring it in. So see how this just looks so much nicer, giving a little bit of space to the elements rather than having it be right up against the edge. It does. It looks nicer. All right, I don't know yet where I'm gonna put that. Next thing I'm gonna focus on is the address. So there's something I wanna tell you about how your eye moves through a page when it's viewing an advertisement. And in a way, our menu is kind of an advertisement. Your eye actually starts up here and it rotates around the page this way. So I am going to set up my address and phone number down here in the right-hand corner. So I want to select my text, and it's going to show me my alignment up here, or you can open up your character panel, or I'm sorry, paragraph panel, not paragraph styles, but actual paragraph. There we go. And it'll show you all of your different options, but they're also up here. And I am going to right align this. So here's the align right. The quick key for this is Command Shift right for right. And then I want it to be a little bit bigger. And because this is a menu, and I've done this for a while, I know that people usually like to make the phone number bigger than the address itself. So in case if they have any takeout or things of that nature, they can see the phone number easier. So I'm gonna make just the phone number bigger. And you can make certain things in the text box bigger than other things. And I'm gonna move this down here. And this is kind of getting lost. So I'm gonna change the type to be white. And I'm gonna give it a little bit of a drop shadow. Just a little bit. So let me click off, select the text box again, and I'm gonna go up here. And I don't wanna just add a drop shadow because it's gonna add this default drop shadow that isn't gonna work how I want it to. I wanna go to FX, click on drop shadow, and then I want to edit my drop shadow so it looks the best that it can look, honestly. The size, I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. And the offset, I'm going to bring it a little bit closer. As in 0 and 0. And then I'm going to bring up the opacity until I feel like you can see it really well. See, I feel like it's still kind of getting lost there. So I'm going to hit OK. And Maybe this needs to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to extend my text box, and I'm going to bring this address up onto the same line. I'm going to do 2 spaces and then shift, and then I'm going to put in a line divider, which is underneath your delete key. It's all the way to the right-hand side of your keyboard, that little line there. And bring this down again. I'm going to lay the phone number right on my margin, and we'll see how that works. I don't know. I might want to actually bring this all down onto one line and get it down here maybe. And if I still can't get it to work, I'm going to have to reevaluate this. So maybe add in a few more spaces and make this a little larger. And still getting a little lost. Well, I can do something like I did up here for fine steaks and seafood. Maybe that's what I need to do. So I'm going to go in my layers. I'm going to unlock that background layer again. Only this time, I'm going to make it blatantly obvious. I'm just going to run, I think, a black bar. So I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, make sure I'm on the background layer, and run that down there. And I want to zoom in and make sure that this looks like it's visually vertically aligned in the area. So sometimes I go back, I go into preview and I check it out here and move that down a little. But guess what? Because my address is smaller than my phone number, the address isn't vertically aligned. What do? I can fix that. I have some options in InDesign that's going to allow me to fix that. So you can go into either the character panel or again up here. See this little A with the little A showing that it's up here? Like kind of like when you do a % sign and you draw it smaller, or you draw the $ smaller. It's called the baseline shift. And I'm going to select just the address and just bump it up. Probably like 1.5. And now it's perfectly centered in there as well. And then because I've added this bar in, I'm actually going to center my text box in this area. I want it to be nice and centered on the page. And then I'll go back into regular mode. And now all I have left to do is add in my hours. So I'm going to delete out that box. I don't want that box. I'm going to move my hours. Kind of, maybe, yeah, maybe right here. Or maybe up into this area. Right up into that area. We'll see how that looks. Might need to move it over just a smidge. I'm actually lining it up with the left side of my eye right there. I'm just visually lining that up. All right, and then I'm gonna, oh, I should have been saving this all along. Save and save often. Sometimes when I'm doing demos, I forget to say that. Save and save often. So I'm going to go into week 1. I'm going to go into the My Assignment, and I'm just going to right now, really quick, I'm going to name it with the naming convention that I need to, which is, where are you? I know you're in here. Here you are. DES 105 Assignment 1, your first last name. I'm not going to grab the .zip part, just the first part. I'm going to change your last name to S. McNamara. Please put your first initial and your last name, if you don't mind, and we hit save. All right, next what you would do, but we're running low on time, is you would make your second cover on page 2. So you can go to pages and click on page 2, or you can just scroll down. But I want to package this so you know how to package it. So save it again. you're going to go to File, Package, and it's going to give you a summary. You want to make sure nothing is missing. See how it says 2 fonts used, nothing missing, 2 images used, nothing missing, fonts. You can click on Show Problems Only, and that way if there's nothing there, there's no problems. You should only have 4 inks. If you have more than 4 inks, you need to fix this here, and that will all be explained in your readings and videos this week, how to fix those inks. So again, File, Package, click the Package button, locate your Mod 6 DES 105 Week 1 folder, and it's going to name your folder based on the naming convention of your InDesign file. So if you have it named correctly, it'll just put folder at the end. That's fine. I have an old one in there. I am going to have to just take off folder for this. I had an old one in there. Now, what you're going to want to do is include a PDF for print, and it's going to default to give you a high quality print. I am going to show you after we click the package button how to make a print or a PDF with the crop and bleed marks. So click package, click OK, and it's going to do its thing. Then what you need to do is go up to File, Adobe PDF Presets. I want you to click on High Quality Print. We're going to create one that adds the crop and bleed marks that you can use going forward, so you only have to save this once. Again, helping you out. So High Quality Print. You can just put it up in your My Assignment folder right now. Click Save. It's going to bring up this export option. Go to Marks and Bleeds, and I want you to click on All Printer Marks, use Document Bleed Settings, and then hit Save Preset and name it Crops and Bleeds. Name it whatever you want, and then click the Export button. And I can show you the difference now in those two. So my one that has my crop and bleed marks. See how it gives me the bar up here with the color bar? Oh, I think I know what I did. Hold on. File, Adobe Export, crop and bleed marks. Save, replace. All pages. I was doing something where I only needed page 2 last week. Export. It does remember your settings. That can be a problem. Save and close. There we go. All right, so here we go. It's got the crop and bleed marks there, and this one's my wrong setting, but yours will have the registration bar as well, compared to the one that was in this folder where before I said it, it does not. It's already cropped. So I want to take my crops and bleed mark one, which is right here, and drag it into my package folder, and it's going to say, do you want to replace it? Replace it. Then you're going to click on the folder that you have created, the zipped folder, and you can make sure it has everything in it. It should have an IDML file, an INDD file, and a PDF file, document fonts and links. And you're going to right click, and you are going to go down to compress. And that is going to create your zip file that you submit for your assignment for this week. So, do we have any questions, any quick questions before we end for today? I usually can stay after, but I actually need to run upstairs today at it's 3:30 my time to relieve my babysitter. But I will be available in the multi-session tomorrow. If anybody has any questions, any concerns, please feel free to come in. All right, great. I really look forward to seeing your designs this week. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to come into the multi-session tomorrow, or you can email me, text me, call me, anything that you need. All right, have a great day. Bye.